What's up? So, we're going to talk a bit about the root energy as it relates to what we're talking about with money. To get to clarity on what that is like, what the root might feel like, I want to contextualize it. We have will that will come through head, or we could actually say it comes through the mind. It comes as a descending energy. It comes down, and it comes down like lightning. And that lightning is the slap on the face. It is the slap of truth. It's a divine slap, we could say. It's the immediate clarity of what must unfold, what must happen. And then we have will or life force. All of these things are different variants of life force, and then I'll speak about the goldenness and the abundance and where we can contextualize that, where that sits. But then we have will or life force that comes through the heart. I must do this for others. I have no choice. I must do this. Before I die, I must do this. As distinct from the slap on the face that is truth. This must be done. I must do this for others. This must be done. I have to serve others. I have to love. Can feel the different frequencies there, yeah? Now, depending upon your constitution, these top two might be easier to integrate. I would say generally everyone's going to have a hard time with the heart because there's a lot of selfishness that we have, a lot of self-centered behavior, a lot of a refusal to love. Where does it show up? It shows up in our ability to give or lack thereof, and it also shows up in our relationships. Where am I bound up in the lack of willingness to give? And that means to give love. Now, that challenge with the heart will directly affect our embodiment because it's that bursting forth of the heart that takes us beyond the self-centered behavior of the emotional body. Now, I'm not saying anything is bad or wrong. I'm just saying to you that the heart, until it is actually released from the grip of the emotional body, is selfish. It's me, it's me, it's me, it's me. Selfish. So I have to do this for love. Love is what matters. This must be done. This is the vision. This is it. Head, heart, both tapping into the same frequency of life force. Now, I can speak to those because I'm quite embodied in both of those aspects. Both of them, if you go into them, ignite an intensity and a fire. Now, with these upper two centers, what's actually being, what is catalyzing those openings is tension. So it actually does feel like there's a contracting happen to burst out. Yeah. It's a demand. There's a demand. Yeah, because it's a demand to touch what is higher. And in the heart's case, what is deeper than the surface level, shallow selfishness of the heart. The third level, if we bring the root into it, is it's a relaxing down. The biggest obstruction to our relaxing down is, if these are open, if we can bring clarity, if we can bring will through the head and the heart, I would say the biggest challenge we're going to face is through the guts. We're going to face challenges in relaxing into the pelvis, but what we're dealing with in the stomach is just a massive pain, a massive pain. It's like the concretized pain, that has been underneath selfishness and the general lack of will. So it's like the underpinnings of the surface level identification that we've started to open up through. Then it reveals pain. So when we can go through the pain, that opens up benevolence. So this is the importance of the belly. Benevolence comes through the stomach. So does abundance, and these start to touch the brain core. They start to touch the brain perception. And then from that place, I can discover a quality of rest that I haven't discovered before, maybe when I was in the womb. So the belly, unsurprisingly, reveals the flavor of being in the warmth of the womb. And that then comes up into the head, and we can open up as the space around us as I am in the womb. Now that helps with solidifying or securing or sealing the work that has been done to break the grip of the emotional body, because we're going into that pain that was underpinning all of this, and we're discovering what's underneath the pain, which is benevolence. And so when benevolence streams through the stomach, then the perception starts to move in accordance with that, which starts to relax the whole body. And it relaxes the body out of its victimization. And there is a discovery of many things: benevolence, the innocence, the complete okayness with everything. Yeah. So from the place of this, there is a sealing. What I mean by sealing is that it's that healing of the emotional body is it's made permanent. Kind of severed the grip of it, but it's actually healed, because through the opening up of the stomach, that quality of let's just use benevolence again, because that's the best. The warmth of the belly rewrites the foundational imprints that we have on an emotional level, right? So that's really good, obviously, for everything. We start to feel, yes, it is abundance. On some level, I know that very deeply. It's also very benevolent. It's very okay. And I'm innocent, because that energy moves up into perception, and it starts to change the way that we see everything. And so the surface level of reality is no longer a threat to us, because we know on a deeper level what is going on. Now, we then drop further than that. I'm looking at the embodiment processes of descending. If you're someone that has moved up first, then hopefully what I'm saying can help you in that integration, because people that sometimes start by opening up sexual energy without having these pieces need to actually stop that, bring attention into places that are actually still immature. So coming down into the rest, and I don't think it's actually helpful to kind of segment parts of the body. I mean, the sexual energy is in sacral, yes. In the genitals, they open, yes. We can feel it there, yes. But there's something to do with the base chakra and the root, the actual opening of the anus, that's extremely important. And that opening of the anus actually allows us to rest down and allow for the receiving of the qualities, the deeper qualities of existence up, which is distinct from what happens with these higher realms. Is it's more about a kind of reaching, it's a striving. With this, we're dropping in. Now, the dropping in down into the energies of the base doesn't actually mean that they're less powerful. In my experience, coming down there actually reveals qualities that are much more immense than here. And this energy down here is where we really begin to stand on our own. We really begin to stand on our own, which means that everything that we have touched in terms of the clarity that we have about what we're here to do in the higher realms, because the head will give you that clarity, the heart will open up the resource to make that happen through breaking the emotional body, breaking the grip of that. But the root will actually give you the resources and the confirmation that what has been touched up here is exactly the truth. So I might get a vision through that movement of will through the mind that this is what I must do. And my heart will go, I have to do this for others. And then my root will go, of course. Of course. So it's almost like the root is really a response to higher realms. It's the earth, the most powerful part of earth, moving as a response to here. Of course. And so when I speak to people about the root, don't always call it that, but really what I'm getting them to feel within their body is the responsiveness of their body to their highest vision. I hope I'm getting to the core of this. I hope I'm transmitting this. But in terms of how this might feel at the bottom, we're really looking at your full incarnation as yourself, which means that you really feel your the truth of your being, and you grow up. So here we kind of grow up as consciousness, but here at the bottom we start to grow up in the world, in the body, in the human. And that means that actually if you're looking to, if up here is telling you that, okay, I have a vision that is going to require me to really be in the world, you don't have any fucking chance of doing that if you're not down here. Because here is where you become the man or the woman in the organic sense, in the biological sense, in the essence of your body, that can actually command an authority on the instinctual primal level that the world will respond to. Yeah, because on some level we all have that human biological function. And much like we can reach higher states of consciousness and have an authority in that way, it's actually more important ultimately for the movement within the world to be fully descended into the base. Because then I can command, when I say command, I'm not referring to as a domination. I'm referring to as the actual commanding from my innate authority that I feel when I rest into myself. So this is where we truly become powerful. But we become powerful in a way that is not an assertion over anyone or anything. It's a resting into ourselves. That's the distortion that we have to heal. So even people that open up heart and head, they'll exhibit a kind of clarity and power, but it's actually not the kind of power that is relaxed. You might notice that if you move from heart, head, in terms of that will, not relaxed. It's not really meant to be though. We have to learn to surrender into that when it's required, because evolution is kind of contractionary in its nature, but that leads to that burst. Well, when we rest down into the deepest part of our body, it's a rest. It's a resting as power on the instinctual primal level. It's almost as if a dragon is rising up from our depth. Yeah. And the dragon really is this responsiveness to our deepest impulse. And the dragon is just, of course, this is who I am. I can sit in a room full of people, and connected to my innate authority in my body, I can have the floor. I can lead. So leadership it's when the heart, the mind, in terms of clarity, and the root come together. All of these three centers create what we could call the central channel of will within the body. They allow for the free flow of power, but of course that can't really be done until we do the purification work, and the belly has to be softened so that we can discover that warmth, so that we can actually help ourselves to rest. I feel like there might be some element of distinction that might be important to clarify about what happens with the root. I don't have words for it yet, but the clarification in terms of there might be two different aspects to that I could speak about. One is that there's an active component of root energy, and there's also a passive. So I can deeply rest into the knowing of my authority on the instinctual primal level, and I can also actively move that in the world. And that's just all to do with full surrender into what's required. And again, in order for there to be a full surrender into anything, there has to be a loosening up or an unwrapping of consciousness out of your familiar subconscious. And as some of you have seen through working with Risa and I, your familiar subconscious is your one viewing point. It's like the contraction that just looks at things in all the same way. With every drop down deeper into the body, you'll notice more and more up and downward swings. So if you drop deeply into the base and root, you're going to feel that there's strong activations that pull you back up. And you'll notice that there are particular activations. So say if I drop down into the heart, what might be activated is a swinging back and forth between aspects of my emotional body that is being, the grip of which is being broken. Or if I drop down into the belly, I feel more of that. Maybe there's trauma. Maybe I move up into trauma states and that drops. Trauma states drops. And we learn to just rest down, rest down, rest down. And then the sexual energy is, it's not just sexual energy, you know, it's like we're getting into the primal power here. But that drop into the root, what we might notice if we drop into the root and the base is a movement up into survival. This is why, of course, our issues with money, finance, resources, and basically resuming our rightful place as the authority of our soul, these things get resolved here. So I no longer am contracting up into that small identity. I'm actually sinking down into the powerful authority that I am, and people listen to that. Yeah, so this is actually the incarnation of a soul that is capable of commanding from that innate authority. And the old model of commanding is, as I said, as I was sort of pointing to, is me dominating or someone dominating or power over. That's words that we hear these days. But as I say, power is innate, and it doesn't come as a contraction. It comes as the resting down. And just because I'm so rested down, the instinctual primal level of everything around me responds to that. If we look at a garden and we see the perennial trees, these are the trees that supply the other and support the other plants or trees within that particular ecosystem. The perennial tree will always be the most rooted. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to this. The most rooted, right? And everything is responsive to that. Everything is also sustained by that. So if you develop a strong root or a plug into the earth, you are moving with an orientation of love, and you're also radically clear about the vision of your soul. You're a powerful soul. There's infinite reserves available for you, and you are here to create transformation on the planet. So if you want some more support with that, by all means reach out to us, and I'll talk to you guys soon.